Welcome back to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler, live here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We get to have a lot of different conversations here on this show, but one of those is we get to speak to local businesses from around the area who are doing good not only for the state of Oregon, but beyond. And that's what we're talking about with this, with Schilling Cider. We spoke to Colin Schilling, one of the owners of the aforementioned company, coincidentally, same last name, just in case you noticed that, but their campaign, Keep It Wild, has been going on for several years, where money is donated off the sales of cider to help a number of different areas around Oregon, and as I mentioned, some other places as well. We talk about the Keep It Wild campaign in this interview and some ways that people can also help out keeping Oregon's nature intact. Well, Colin, thanks for being here on Fox 12 Now. Really appreciate your time. Excited to talk about the campaign and all that that means, especially for, what we all love here and the outdoors and everything that goes along with it here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. But before we do that, can we learn just a little bit about yourself and your company and just, how you got started there?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Colin Schilling, founder and CEO of Schilling Cider. And we've been making cider since 2012 here in the Pacific Northwest, focused on using fresh pressed fruit and making some really innovative, amazing ciders. And one of the cornerstones of our business since day one has always been sustainability. And so that's what we're talking about today with Keep It Wild, is one of the major ways throughout the year that we put our money where our mouth is in terms of supporting wild spaces and supporting sustainability through our business.
Now, you mentioned that was one of the tenets, it sounds like, from the very beginning. Why is that for you, that's such an important thing?
Yeah, I personally believe that business should be a force for good, especially when it's done correctly. And personally, I grew up in the country. I have a deep appreciation for being outdoors and, protecting our resources. My middle name is Muir, after John Muir, so that might give you some idea of who my parents were and what they were all about. Spent a lot of time camping, still do, and I believe that, as good stewards of the world, we need to leave the world a better place than we found it. And I think business can be a force for doing that when run correctly.
So let's talk about this campaign and let everybody know, what this is, and I mean maybe a little bit of the origin story on that too, of just how you got this going.
Yeah. So Keep It Wild is our campaign every April, and it's all about raising money for nonprofits that keep wild spaces wild. And we took a look as a business that's grown quite well over the last decade. And we said, hey, look, obviously we're a business that wants to grow and sell more cider. But instead of spending more money on ads or, more traditional media, how could we use this in a way that leverages the power of charitable giving to connect with our customers and to showcase to our customers who we really are as a business? And our hope, of course, is that that creates more sales for the company. And those sales in the month of April directly drive charitable giving for nonprofits. We started Keep It Wild in 2022. And since 2022, we've donated now $388,000 to nonprofits that work tirelessly throughout the year to keep wild spaces wild. And just to give you some context, I'm going to brag for a minute. That is more money than every other cider company combined charitable giving.
Wow.
Across the entire, landscape of cider. And so I say that not as a brag entirely, but also as a challenge to our industry. I think, it's a part of being a successful entrepreneur and doing well is how you give back. This year, for example, we have raised $142,900 for our 8 nonprofit partners, and that's a 36% increase since last year. So even in some challenging economic times, we continue to put our money where our mouth is, and again, really live through our business ethics.
And talking about that, keeping wild spaces wild, can you give us an example? I know there's Oregon Wild, I believe, that you work with here, and a number of different organizations across other states too, and Washington, of course. What does that mean for people out there to understand where that money is going when you say keep wild spaces wild?
Yeah, our team has done a really amazing job of vetting the nonprofit partners that are very effective with those dollars. And so, like you said, in Oregon, we partner with Oregon Wild. We work with nonprofits across 13 states now for this campaign. We added 1 additional nonprofit this year that covers 2 additional states. But Oregon Wild is obviously one of the biggest receivers of those funds. I don't know this year, but last year I was told that we were the largest charitable giver that was a corporation to that nonprofit. That's also true of Washington Wild, which is our partner up here in Washington. And what those folks do is they really focus on advocacy, political work, really highlighting and then, working with legislatures and working to create community pressure, to make sure that wild spaces that we all cherish and or wild spaces that are critical to the environment and habitat that's really critical are protected. And that's generally through passing laws or fighting stuff that is happening that is otherwise going to be a major detriment to those areas. And, as you know, in the current environment, that's more important than it's ever been. And so the fight is real. And so we're proud to be one of the largest funding sources for some of these really effective nonprofits that are laser focused in this space here in the Pacific Northwest.
And so this is for the month of April is when this campaign goes on. So obviously we're in May right now.
Yep.
What comes next?
Yeah, so we do this campaign every year and we want to build on it, but we obviously focus on this throughout the year as well. So we've got other campaigns that include charitable giving. And actually one of the other really cool things that we're doing right now to extend our environmental stewardship directly to our drinkers is we're actually giving away an EV. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but we said, look, again, how can we connect with our customers and do something really amazing? And so we have an all-electric fleet. We're the only beverage alcohol company that has an entirely electric fleet for our sales force, again, in line with our business ethics. And we said, hey, look, let's give one away. And so it's a 2023 Chevy Bolt. We said, look, we can't go out and buy a new car. That's obviously higher carbon footprint, et cetera. So very lightly used. You can go on our website right now, or you can buy a pack of Excelsior Mango. It's got a scan to win on there. Go ahead and scan to win on that. We're going to do the drawing in June. And so again, it's just a way to say, like, look, here is who we are as a company. We're all about sustainability and we want to connect that to you. So again, I think it's really fun. Like we're a company that brings fun and joy to the world at our best. And so we're giving away a car. And I think that's just another way that we're extending the Keep It Wild campaign right now.
Nice. When you look at, like the cider industry or the beverage industry as a whole, in the state of Oregon, which we've actually been covering quite a bit, just what a big part of the economy that is. When you talk about that, what are some of the biggest things, I guess, as far as that industry as a whole and tying into that charitable side of things and in particular, sustainability and the outdoors, do you see that as an industry whole as something that's pretty important to it?
I think the craft beverage industry broadly, Oregon is a huge craft beer and cider consumption market, which is fantastic. I think they're really focused on living through their values, whatever that may be. And I think there's a lot of examples of companies that do a phenomenal job in that space. And I think it's really important that consumers also hold their favorite brands accountable for these things as well. And I believe that's really how you create a really powerful business, is a business that really aligns in that way with their customers. And so I think, again, companies like us leading the way with an all EV fleet, doing very large amounts of charitable giving, my hope is that encourages other companies to follow suit. One of the things that I'm super proud of in this space right now is we just were certified climate label for the entire company. So we've been in this process since 2021, tracking our carbon footprint. Over the last couple of years, we had a few SKUs that were climate neutral, but now we've gone ahead and certified the entire company climate label certified. So we're tracking our carbon footprint and then we are offsetting all of it as well. So it's a really big deal. And again, we are the only in terms of cider and craft beer that have done that. And again, I think that's a really big step forward considering the state of the world right now and the things that are really important for protecting the outdoors and, quite frankly, just keeping a planet that's inhabitable for the future generations that people want to be in. So we think it's really important that companies like ours, take steps and do things like this that are not just lip service, but are really big, powerful steps in the right direction.
All right. Well, Colin, where can people go to find out more about the Keep It Wild campaign and just where those funds are going, what it's being utilized for?
Yeah, I would say huge shout out to Oregon Wild and Oregon. Go check out the amazing advocacy work that they do. You can obviously donate on their website. I encourage everyone to do that as well. Feel free to give us a like or follow on all the social media platforms for Schilling Cider. We'll be continuing talking about this and then, talking about what we're doing in years future. And then, of course, you can also find that link to get potentially win an EV, which is super cool, decarbonize your transportation, which is great. And then I'll also say we have a really amazing cider house on Division in Portland. So come check us out there, have a great experience, try a bunch of ciders. So yeah, lots of ways to check out what we're doing. And again, also support the work that Oregon Wild is doing to protect wild spaces in Oregon. And then again, us as Schilling Cider working on that in as many states as we possibly can.
All right. Well, hey, thank you very much. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. We are live here. So big thank you to Colin for joining us for that interview and talking about the great work that they do there as well. We're live, in case you didn't know, here in the newsroom. That interview was obviously pre-recorded, but we're going to continue on here with the show. And coming up next, we're going to be speaking to Oregon State University about their bee program and World Bee Day, why that's important, what to know about the pollinators in the state of Oregon and beyond that help out our economy and our agriculture as well, plus more. So we've got that coming up for you. We do need to take a quick break. We'll do so. We'll be right back after that with more Fox 12 Now.